I love a fellow do-it-yourselfer, and in a small urban setting just near downtown Nashville, my friend Brandy Trigiani is a do-it-yourselfer and has created a beautiful garden. So I'm sure this front garden posed a little bit of a challenge because it's on a fairly good slope. Brandy, tell me how this garden came to be.
Well, actually, when we first moved here, there was just like a concrete knee wall, and this was straight grass slope that went straight up. So when we looked at it, it was me and my husband, and I'm like, how am I going to make this home retirement friendly?
Right.
So we slowly notched out the garden, and he actually did me a dry stack wall on both sides. We have repurposed all these stones. There's been so much construction in the neighborhood.
Right.
We have repurposed that. We did hire a guy to build our wall for us. And
Sure.
so we've just worked our way up. And so up top, just limited amount of turf left. And it's just, this is all sun all day. And I just wanted just pops of color, chaos, just.
Right.
And it just kind of came from that.
And you can do that because you have such good structure. So you've got lots of hardscaping. Obviously, you raised the wall so that your slope wasn't quite as steep.
Yes.
And then when you have lots of really good structure and good hardscape, the garden can be a little more chaotic.
It is, and I tried it because I've got I've got my blue spruces there, and then I've got my hortense. So, so I try. It may not seem like I've got an idea of what I'm doing, but I do try to have some calm, some repetitive things. I do try to have the chartreuse pops of that as it moves through the garden, so that repetition, so you kind of see that and the eye moves with it.
Right. And I always kind of liken the shrubs like the blue spruces and the spireas and those as kind of the punctuation in what might otherwise be a run-on sentence.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You mentioned the spruces, and you've got this chartreuse spirea, but you've also got a lot of flowering plants in here. Color throughout the season, I'm assuming.
I do, yes. And so there is not one month in the year that there's not something blooming in my garden. And so, and I need that, especially if you're trapped inside the house in the winter. We've got hellebore and such in the back.
Sure.
So there's always something going. Yes, if something is fading, there's always going to be something coming up behind it to give me some color.
Right now, the cone flowers are really showing off.
They are, and I just saw some yellow finches right before y'all got here, so I'm
Okay.
super excited about that.
Yeah, they'll come in. So have these just reseeded themselves?
Yeah, so everything out here is all just reseeds, even my California poppies.
Yeah.
They supposed to be annuals, but they come back. The cosmos, pretty much everything out here has just reseeded, and I kind of will have to just go through and thin it out because they kind of go wild.
Right, yeah, those annuals like the California poppies, and a lot of times we don't see those down here in the south because it's so humid, but I'm assuming probably up here on this wall, for one thing, really good drainage.
Yes.
And you're on still a little bit of a slope.
Absolutely.
So they just come back every year?
They really do, and they'll self-seed, and even you'll notice the cosmos, they're down in the cracks of the sidewalk and the wall, and so I always like that saying, bloom where you're planted. So even here in the urban heat, concrete, you still can have some flowers that are blooming.
It's always amazing to me where something will seed in and eke out a life.
Absolutely, and then I will create this beautiful hole that I've bought this wonderful plant for it to bloom, and then it dies. But yet here these guys are living in concrete.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I know there's a lot more to see, so let's go up to the top.
All right, let's.
So is it a challenge to get grass to grow here?
Yes, as you know, we're in the transitional zone and in Middle Tennessee. So out here, we've had grass on both sides, but we could not get it to grow on the other side. So my saying always is, if you can't get grass to grow, hardscape it.
Right.
So my husband built me a beautiful stone walkway on the other side, so I was able to incorporate more plants and stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, so this is about all that's left out here. Hopefully eventually it'll be gone.
Right.
So.
And behind us you have a really beautiful magnolia.
Thank you. So this is teddy bear magnolia. He's supposed to be a dwarf, but a lot of the plants in my garden don't pay attention to their tags.
Right.
And they kind of do what they want to do.
Yeah,
sometimes.
we say often plants don't read the tags, and the other thing to always remember is that the dwarf form of something that grows 75 feet tall in the wild still may get pretty large.
Absolutely.
Yes. So speaking of dwarf, or at least compact,
right.
I love this hydrangea that's down here.
Thank you. So that's tiny tough stuff. So it's just gone over, but it's a great specimen, and it's one of those that blooms on old and new wood, so it's not going to be persnickety if we have a hard freeze in the winter. Then I've got a snow queen hydrangea here, and just this year, where we had that bad polar vortex that came through Middle Tennessee 2 years ago, I'm just now still seeing damage from that.
Right.
So we've lost actually half of him this year. And
oh, that's too bad.
I know. So I've kind of pruned it and hemmed it up. So I don't know what I'm in flux as to what to do, because his neighbor on the other side is even more of him is gone. But I kind of left him for now because I loved the scent when they were blooming. Bees and stuff were all over it. So I'm just going to kind of let it finish its blooming, and then I have to make some hard gardening decisions, as we all do.
Well, that polar vortex, even though it's been a couple of years ago, like you said, we're still seeing some long-term damage from that.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just going to continue slowly.
I agree.
So I love the window boxes on the front of the house, but I have to ask you, how much of a challenge is it to keep them going and looking good all summer long?
It's actually, those will retain water, so I got those online somewhere. So they're not too bad. And the geraniums, I probably water them maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I've got some good soil retention, moisture retention soil in there, and like I said, they're kind of quote unquote self-watering, but they do hold moisture well, so I'm able to kind of keep them going.
And the geraniums are pretty tough anyway. They don't mind drying out a little bit.
They are, and I like having just another pop of color up there, just as you're looking, coming down at the bottom of the garden, and as you're, sweeping your eye up.
Right,
it just
brings
kind
you all the way up
brings
to
you
the
all
house.
the way up. I want you to be able to take advantage of all of the landscape, because I like to go up as well, not only down.
There are bees all over these sunflowers. And did you plant these?
Well, God did.
There you go.
These are volunteers. So I had sunflowers. This is Lemon Queen, this variety. Planted them probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and it just self-seeds. So
every year a few come back?
Yep, and I've got all my cosmos are self-seeding as well. So it's really nice, and they are so robust, and yes, and the bees are bonkers for them.
Yeah. And I'm sure the bees go crazy over the monarda and the phlox and the butterflies too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's great. And then there'll be sleepy bees in the morning. I'll come out in the morning, and they're all just resting and stuff. So it's really a high traffic area. And I even threw a little dwarf cherry tomato plant. So if I'm out in the garden and I need a snack, I can just grab a tomato.
Something that you can grab?
Yeah, just so I don't have to run in the house.
Well, speaking of bees and butterflies, I love garden art. And I love to visit people's gardens and see people's homes and see their creativity. So tell me about these 2 marble mosaics.
Well, thank you. So this is credit to my husband, Mike Trajani. So he's out in construction, and he finds things all the time here in Nashville. So he has found all of these marbles on knockdown houses, job sites and stuff. So he has big jars of them, and I said, well, let's take them and let's do something with them. So I just left him to it. So whenever he was pouring this and setting this concrete pathway, he just did on his own, his inspiration, and did the mosaics, the bees and the butterflies.
I love it.
Thank you.
You've got some other cute garden art over here too.
Yeah, so
lots of found objects.
A lot of found. I call it the Garden of Oddities. So just an old sign from a job site, and so the best safety device is a careful man. That's some sage advice, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
So, and then that old Tonka truck and the little toy, it was like from my grandmother's when we were breaking down her house. So I thought, well, you know what, let's just put it all together.
Sure. All right, so through this corridor from the front garden to the back garden, you make a big transition. And the thing I love about this is that you've really taken advantage of your vertical space. So tell me kind of how you've done that.
Well, we've have got some trellises that we've mounted to the house, and so I've got clematis, I've got climbing roses, and we've even got a passion vine as well. So just once again, we have all of this that's happening at the bottom, but I want to always try to have something to draw your eye up.
Right, and you've also kind of mirrored that on the other side of the path with your very vertical crepe myrtles, especially the way they're trimmed high and you really expose those trunks.
Yes, and this is pink velour, and this is as big as it gets. So it's well behaved. So it's great. So it gives me a nice canopy, so I'm able to put a lot of shade plants in there. We'll get some afternoon sun, so the phlox will get just enough sun to where they'll flower for me.
As we mentioned at the beginning of our visit, we are in an urban setting here. And so
Yes.
you do have urban city life to deal with, construction and traffic and all of those things.
Yes.
But you have transformed this backyard, this little urban backyard, into an oasis. So what was here when you started?
Just this hackberry tree. So this was just grass when my husband and I moved here 17 years ago. So we have strategically planted trees. He's etched out beds for me. When we first moved here, there was an empty lot next door, and so we planted these trees knowing that eventually something was going to go there. So trying to plan for the future. And yes, the noise, there's always city sounds and stuff. So, but yes, when I come back here to the garden, I can actually tune it out and just kind of relax.
Right, because mixed in with all of those sounds, we've got the birds singing. You've created a place for nature to exist here too.
Thank you. Yes.
So you have lots of hostas back here because it's shady.
Yes.
More hydrangeas. Any particular favorites that stand out to you?
Oh, probably as far as my tree, I love this maple here. So that's Brandywine maple, and she gets this beautiful purpley red in the fall.
Right.
And of course she's named after me, so why wouldn't I love her? As far as hostas go, I can't pick one.
You can't pick a favorite.
I can't. They'll all
No.
get jealous. It'll be terrible.
You do have a big tree that you had to take out,
I did.
also part of gardening
Yes,
life.
absolutely. And but we've left the trunks, and so and that just got taken down. So I'm going to try to do some kind of eclectic design with it. Not sure what's going to happen yet, but yeah. So we try to just, I don't know, use the material, use what we've got here, work with what we've got, and obviously working with the sound. So we put in a little water feature so that you can have some water sounds and try to relax. And yeah, and so it's funny, I look back here and even the patio in the back, that was grass as well. And so we had that stamped concrete put in just to kind of, it was an underutilized space. So that way we're able to barbecue and hang out. So
and back there, you're really working in the deep shade. So probably growing grass back there was a challenge.
It really was.
Yeah.
And it just was, and it was just wasted. It just, so you kind of look at the area and you're like, well, what benefit is it giving me? And then also too, when I try to help people do their little garden designs, what do you see when you're looking out the window? So I wanted to be able to look out and create something that I can see from the kitchen window.
I have to say, this specimen of little honey oak leaf hydrangea is spectacular.
Aw, thank
It
you.
is not the easiest thing to grow.
No.
So, how old is this? Any idea?
Probably 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I got it mail order when I got it because you couldn't find it commercially.
Sure.
You couldn't find it locally at the time.
Sure. And the special thing about this is that when it leaves out in the spring and there's a little bit of new growth on it now that you can see, it is bright chartreuse.
Absolutely.
And then it greens up a little bit in the summertime as it begins to flower, but typical oak leaf flowers. And then a really interesting plant that I personally don't see enough of in gardens, that Tovara painter's palette.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it is such a wonderful, just ground cover, self-seeder. You'll see many of it out in the garden,
Right.
out in the yard and stuff. But yes, it's a great plant. My friend Georgianne McCoy gave me a piece of it several years ago, and it has just been a wonderful addition to the garden. You get some nice contrast. You get that white, the red, the chartreuse. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I don't know if we would classify that as a true perennial or kind of a half-hardy annual. It comes back and it sort of reseeds itself.
Yes.
And it moves around to different places, but gosh, it's a great plant.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite ground covers always has been a juga, and there have been some great new ones that have come out the last few years, kind of a bird series, and this one is maybe cordial canary or one of those.
Yes, I think it
Yes.
is, and it's a great spreader, and you can propagate it so easily. You just literally pick it up and stuff it in some dirt. And
Right.
It's been a great plant, and I've repurposed it all throughout the garden.
And again, summer heat, it's greened up just a little bit, but when it comes up in the spring, it is bright gold with blue flowers.
Absolutely.
It's such a spectacular show.
100%. I love that, and that nice contrast. It's eye-catching. I love it.
Well, we've come full circle, literally, around the other side of the house, and this last little vignette that I want to look at are your beautiful containers full of hostas and heucheras and other plants. I love the cobalt blue, a girl after my own heart. I think cobalt blue is great in a garden. So
Agreed.
tell me about your inspiration here.
Well, this inspiration is to feed my addiction. So, you know, we planted the trees, so it was kind of rooty, and so I wasn't able to get being able to do a lot of perennials. So I was like, let me just do some pots, and I saw a Hosta magazine, and they had just tons of them in pots, and so the inspiration was born. And it's a way to continue to have more plants. I can put 5 or 6 in a spot where only 1 would exist.
Right, because you can alternate the height of the pots.
Absolutely.
And pack them closer together and grow more plants, which is
100
always a great thing.
Always. Any way I can get more plants in the garden, I'm gonna find a way.
And like you mentioned, combating tree roots also, so that keeps.
Absolutely.
And with your hostas, it keeps the roots cold in the wintertime, which the hostas love.
They do, and these pots will handle our winter, so
Yeah.
it's great. I don't have to move them or do anything with them.
Well, thank you so much for letting us visit. Your garden is beautiful, and it's always an inspiration to see what people have done with small urban lots.
Oh, thank you. It's been great having y'all here. Glad to show it.
If you liked this video, we've got a wide range of gardening related topics here on our channel. Home garden tours, plant showcases, tips from growers, and much more. Take a dive into our archive and be sure to click to subscribe so you can catch all of our new topics. Until next time.